Today, we're diving into a landmark EU law that's about to completely overhaul political advertising as we know it. We're going to shine a light on who gets to influence you, and maybe more importantly, how.
For years, online political ads have felt like a total black box. You see a message pop up in your feed, but who's behind it? Who paid for it? And why on earth did their algorithm pick you to see it? Well, that whole mystery is about to get a lot clearer thanks to a new EU-wide regulation.
Okay, so let's first get a handle on the problem the EU was trying to solve here. To put it simply, the old system was just a mess. A chaotic free-for-all, a real Wild West for political advertising.
Just picture this. What was totally legal in one country was banned right across the border. You had really strict rules for television, but for the internet, almost nothing. This messy patchwork of laws created all this legal uncertainty and, you guessed it, massive loopholes. It was just a distorted and frankly unfair environment for any kind of democratic debate.
And this lack of consistency wasn't just confusing, it was genuinely dangerous. As the EU itself points out in the regulation, when you can't see who's trying to influence you, political advertising becomes a perfect vehicle for disinformation and all sorts of manipulation.
So what's the fix? The EU's solution is a single, harmonized rulebook that applies across all 27 member states. The goal here is pretty simple: bring clarity, fairness, and accountability to the entire system.
First things first, the regulation kicks off with a really broad definition of political advertising. And this is so important. It means these new rules don't just apply to candidates during an election. Nope, they apply to any message designed to influence a vote or a law, no matter who paid for it or where they're based.
Now, the absolute heart of this new regulation can be summed up in one phrase: radical transparency. The whole idea is to drag political advertising out of the shadows and put it right into the spotlight for everyone to see.
You could think of this new system as a mandatory nutrition label for every single political ad. It follows a pretty straightforward four-step process. First, the sponsor has to declare that it's a political ad. Then, the publisher has to label it clearly for you. Next, you get easy access to a detailed breakdown. And finally, a permanent record of that ad is kept in a public database.
This transparency notice is the real game changer. It's like the full ingredients list for the ad. For the very first time, you won't just see the ad itself. You'll get to see the entire machine working behind it, who paid for it, how much they spent, and maybe most importantly, the exact criteria they used to single you out to see it.
And to make sure there's long-term accountability, every single online political ad will be archived in a central public database for 7 years. This is going to create an absolutely invaluable resource for researchers, journalists, and, any of us who want to track influence and spending long after an election is over.
But these new rules go way beyond just transparency. They also fundamentally change how your personal information can be used. So this isn't just about knowing who's talking to you. It's about giving you real control over how they find you in the first place.
And here it is, one of the biggest changes of all. Using your sensitive personal data for political targeting is now banned. Period. The EU has drawn a very clear red line in the sand on this one.
So, what exactly counts as sensitive data? We're talking about the absolute core of your identity, your political opinions, your religious beliefs, your ethnicity, your health information, and so on. The logic here is pretty simple. The very things that make you who you are should not be weaponized to target you with political ads. And what about any other personal data, like your age or where you live? Well, for that, the advertiser needs your explicit and separate consent. No more of those vague permissions buried deep in the terms and conditions. You now have to actively say, yes, you can use this specific data to show me political ads.
Okay, so this all sounds good on paper, but how will the EU actually make sure these new rules are followed? Because let's face it, rules are only as good as their enforcement.
This regulation has some serious teeth. How serious? Violations can lead to fines of up to 6% of a company's global annual turnover. For some of the world's biggest tech platforms, we're talking about billions of dollars. It's a number specifically designed to make sure everyone complies.
Enforcement is going to be handled by a team of specialists at the national level. So instead of one agency trying to do it all, the experts in data privacy will handle the data rules, while the experts in online platforms will police the transparency rules. It's a coordinated approach to make sure nothing slips through the cracks.
When you step back and look at it, this regulation is a major shift. We're moving away from an opaque system to one where citizens are actually empowered with information and control. So I guess the final question is really for you. With all these new tools at your disposal, how will you use them? Because the power to demand a healthier, more accountable democracy is now, more than ever, in your hands.